everybody. This is Lily Whispers, and in this video, I am going to be answering any questions that you may have written in seeking advice. You may hear me taking some sips of water throughout this video, and this is the ASMR Advice Question and Answer series with Lily. Video number 1. I decided to make this purely audio for those of you who enjoy my whisper voice. And because I thought it would help concentrate more on the answers to your questions. But I'm definitely going to be experimenting in the future where I may do some camera brushing while answering questions. So far I am going to answer all the questions that I have received, which I have written down on a sheet of paper. They are in no particular order, and I am just going to jump right in and hope that this video not only helps you, but relaxes you. So the first question comes from a girl named Megan Bunno, and she asks, how do you deal with workplace stress, like feeling invisible at work? Well, Megan, I actually have a job where I'm not really surrounded by other people. As you guys all know, I'm a nanny, so that gives me freedom to pretty much be my own boss when I'm working with children in my home or in theirs. But I went to college to be a preschool teacher, and I do have plenty of work experience, whether it be in restaurants or in the school system. And I don't know what particular job you have, but my advice for workplace stress, believe it or not, is that when you put forth a positive attitude, even on the days where it's hard, positive energy is contagious. I find it really hard to be in a bad mood when I'm working with people that are positive and happy. Now, if this is a job you have that is not your long-term career, or a place where you really feel is your calling, then I'm pretty sure you are a very intelligent girl, and there are plenty of other avenues you might want to look into. I'm not saying quit your job tomorrow, but I think it depends on the job that you have. If you're in an office, that is a lot different than, say, working in a restaurant. Like if you were a waitress, where you kind of are doing your own thing. So what I suggest is to just try and be as upbeat and positive as you can if this is a job that you are trying to keep for a lengthy amount of time, and sort of use the law of attraction, like what you think about, you bring about, to see if that changes the energy. One thing a lot of people struggle with understanding, and I know that it's true because I have done it, is that in any situation, whether it be work, life, interpersonal relationships, you have the power in yourself to change the energy between you and other people, all based on how you act and how you respond. So why don't you give that a shot for a few weeks and just see how it works out. And thank you so much for writing in. The next question comes from Santa Sunshine, and she asks, what do I think is the meaning of life? Does everything have meaning? And what do I think happens when we die? Santa, this is actually a very controversial question for me, but I'm happy always striving to be better than the person you were yesterday, always being kind to others. And I think life is about giving and loving and laughing and living, enjoying every moment. Do I think that everything in life has a meaning? Yes, I do. I was actually born and raised Roman Catholic, and believe it or not, I am much more spiritual than I am religious. I am very much into like the Buddhist monks and the Dalai Lama and those type of thinkers and philosophers, just because I think that the way they view life and how to pass on kindness to other people is such a beautiful way to live. I am very much into the motivational speaker Tony Robbins, a lovely gentleman who passed away a few years back named Og Mandino. So for me, I do believe everything has meaning. Now the poignant question you asked, which was, what do I think happens when we die? Well, as much as I was raised, Catholic, not overly Catholic, but I mean church and God and Jesus and things of that nature, I don't want to strike up any anger when I say this, but I do believe there's a higher power, and to avoid sounding negative or that I'm a non-believer, I would love, 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 love to believe that when we pass away, we go to a better place where we are young again and we are no longer in pain. But I suppose as I've gotten older and maybe a bit more cynical, I believe that one of those things, I guess, where you have to see it to believe it. Now I know that people will say, well, you can't see air, but you can breathe. And to a degree, this is true. But that being said, I'm not one of these people that says, I know for sure, just because that's what I learned in church. Because I've never been to heaven, so I don't know for sure. But I like to hope, I like to pray, and I like to hope that when we do pass away, we do go to a better place. If that is true, that is not for me to say, but that's what I like to believe. So thank you, Sam the Sunshine, for writing in, and I hope this answered your question. The next question, excuse if I mess up these names, comes from T.W. Loha, L-I-T-M, and I am so sorry that I butchered that name. But the question that you asked was, how do I keep anxiety from affecting my health? This was a very kind of ironic question, because if you've watched my previous videos, you know that I suffer with anxiety daily. And part of my anxiety is actually health anxiety. When we get anxiety, our bodies produce body symptoms, headaches, dizziness, nausea, anything from irritable bowel syndrome to trembling, sweating, a feeling of not being attached to reality, which is a very common anxiety trait. And what I would suggest is that it sounds very cliche, but positive thinking always helps. I would say exercise if you can, even if it's in your own home. Whether it be yoga or going to a gym or walking outside a mile a day in the nice crisp air, if you have the ability to do so. I can tell you that exercise releases endorphins, which are the feel-good hormones. And if you eat properly and have a very healthy lifestyle, or you try to implement exercise into your daily life, you'll notice that your anxiety starts to diminish a little bit. I'm a little bit different than you. I have health anxiety where I'm always afraid something is wrong with me. And for me, it's really just a matter of saying to myself, all these times you thought you were sick and you were dying, and you're still here, and there's nothing wrong with you. So I suggest to keep anxiety from affecting your health, implement a lot of exercise, even if it's just walking at a steady pace every day. So I hope that helps, and thank you for writing in. The next question comes from EJXO Sunshine, and they asked about procrastination in getting things done. Quite often they said in their question they will make to-do list for themselves, and everything piles up and they don't get anything done. So what I suggest for that, since I am a huge procrastinator, is to keep your to-do list as organized as possible, and maybe divide them into sections of things that have to get done, things that need to get done, and things that you want to get done. And I would start to slowly get into the habit of doing the most important things first, such as maybe paying bills or running grocery shopping, and then so on and so forth. Because I am a procrastinator, I have found that dividing my lists into different sections really truly help. And it's really just getting into the habit of waking up in the morning and starting your day off with the attitude that you're not going to put things off anymore. When I go to bed at night, I'll make a to-do list, and I'll be so excited to say, oh my gosh, tomorrow when I wake up, I'm going to do yoga, and I'm going to eat breakfast, and then I'm going to go do all my errands. Well, guess what? Noon rolls around and I haven't accomplished much. So what I suggest to you is to definitely start separating your lists by the most importance and the must-get-dones first, and then just, work it out slowly that way. What I've learned is when I've been a procrastinator my whole life, that's a very hard habit to break. So I suggest doing that. There's an old saying that says we cannot move mountains in one day. So I would just start small and see how that works. But sectioning off your to-do list won't feel so overwhelming. So thank you for writing in. The next question comes from a viewer who has been very loyal since probably I started making videos, and her name is The Failed Actress, and she always has such wonderful things to say and comments on my videos with such positivity. And her question is about negative thinking, and how do you stop the cycle of allowing negative thoughts to pile up and getting out of that kind of dumpy, frumpy, bad mood. So, Failed Actress, the best advice I can give you is what I gave myself, because having anxiety has made me a very negative thinker. And it's a little quote that I want you to maybe write down on a post-it and tape it to the mirror that you look at every day. Put one in your car. Put it in as many places as you're going to read it. And I want you to repeat this to yourself daily and really try to believe it. And the saying that I want you to remember goes a little something like this. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. I cannot tell you how my day goes bad and it just puts me in a horrible mood where I lash out at people. I get really anxious standing in line at a store. I'm aggravated with the people that are cashing me out. I'm aggravated at a red light. I'm just like you in that sense. And when I started saying to myself every day, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, and really, really discover what that meant, I stopped feeling so negative all the time. For example, if my husband were to come home really late from work and I was in a bad mood because I had made plans for us to go get errands done, and then by the time he got home we couldn't go, I would be in a bad mood. So what I started to do was I started to say to myself, okay, you know what? He came home late and we didn't get to do our errands today. But that gave me more time to get the laundry done and clean the house. And maybe, just maybe, that was the universe's way of telling me that me not going out could have avoided something bigger. As morbid as it sounds, like, say, a car accident. So I try to look at the positive of it. I know that probably sounds a little weird at first, but that really has helped me with negative thinking. So I want you to just try it for a little bit and start to pick out a positive for every negative. Like if your friend cancels plans and it really makes you mad, say to yourself, okay, well maybe I can do something more fun with my time or have some alone time. It's true that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So try that for a little bit and see if that helps. And thank you so much for your loyal views. I appreciate them. Okay. The next question comes from Hannah F. And it says, how does one deal with toxic friends? Well, Hannah, I don't know your age group, but I am 32. I am going to be 33 in November 12th, actually. And about 5 years ago, I had a falling out with a group of girls, 3 to be exact, who were my best friends for 18 years. And if you're younger and you're in your teens, I think that negativity, unfortunately, is a part of the teenage world because there's a lot of drama and things like that. But if you have toxic friends in your life and you're saying that they're toxic, my answer for you would be that they're not actually good friends. If you have social media, I would eliminate them from your social media and slowly back away. Because even after my falling out at, my age, 18 years of friendship, I realized that the 3 girls that I thought were my best friends were actually dragging me down in life. And let me tell you, it's been about 4 or 5 years, maybe 4, since I've been friends with them. And my life has grown by leaps and bounds. Sometimes you have to do a spring cleaning of people in your life. I suggest you just pick friends wisely if you can. And that's what I would tell you to do. If you're already saying they're toxic, they're not very good friends. So I would just back away quietly and slowly and, start to kind of cut off contact if they're not people you want in your life. Because you're the shining star of your life and you don't need people dragging you down. So thank you so much for writing in, Hannah F. The next question comes from The Sound of Snow, who is another ASMR artist that I just discovered makes videos. And I love her. I think she's fantastic. So I will be subscribing to you, Sound of Snow. And your question was, how do I handle negative criticism on my videos? And do I worry about people finding my channel? I actually used to take negative criticism really hard when I first started. The only answer I can give you that worked for me was that I delete it. I ignore it. And that's the beauty of my channel. I have the ability to not pay attention to those people, and I don't. What I choose to do is look at all the positive feedback I do get and ignore the negative haters. My mother told me when I was very young, not everybody in life is going to like you or love you, and the world owes you nothing. So you have to be strong enough to go after what you want yourself and cut all of that out of your life. And that's what I do every day. Do I worry about people finding my channel? Yes and no. I don't care. A lot of my family members and friends, the husband, everybody kind of knows I make these videos. And they think it's cool. But if I'm worried about people finding my channel, it doesn't worry me. The only thing that comes into my mind is that people are going to think it's weird. Like, hey, why is she pretending to be a dentist? But for the most part, no, not really. I've been doing it since 2011. I was on Dr. Oz because of it. So a lot of good has really come out of my channel, and I would urge you definitely to do the same things and don't pay attention to haters. I've actually seen your channel and you're really, really good. So haters are gonna hate, girlfriend. The next question comes from Ryan Gelberman. I'm sorry, I probably butchered your name. And your question was about always saying yes and learning to say no to people. This is a bit of a tough one because I feel like saying no is a gift that some people are born with, which it sounds like you might be too nice of a person. I am too nice to a degree, but I would say practice makes perfect. So I would start very small, learning to say no in a polite way, and just really learning your own value. You know, if people are asking things of you that you really can't execute, I think it's important to know that sometimes in life, Ryan, you have to be a little bit selfish, and that's okay. So I would start telling yourself that daily, that you know what, it's okay if I'm a little selfish. It's okay if I say no. And just start small. I'm very boisterous and kind of out there, so I have no problem saying no to people. But also learning the difference between what you can say yes to and what you can say no to. And just start small every day and put yourself first, for sure. The next question comes from Katie Owens, and her question is a divide in the family, and she is the only one who communicates. Katie, this question hit home for me because my mom comes from a family of 7. And through both deaths of my grandparents, there was a lot of divide between my mother and her sisters. The cousins all tried to stay together, but the sisters would go for like months not speaking. As crazy as this sounds, what I did and what I urge you to do is to write a letter and print a bunch of copies to everybody about what is in your heart, and use quotes about family and how important family is. Talk about how life is so short, and although you didn't get to pick the family you were in, God obviously put you together for a reason. I did that, and I mailed it to all my mother's sisters, my mother included. And at the end of it, I asked them all to meet at my house for lunch one day. And I said at the end of the letter, if those of you choose not to come, it's just as well, and I'll leave it alone and move on and be happy. But I would hope for our grandparents' sake we could put things back together. It may not be the way it was before, but at least it's an effort and a step in the right direction. So if you're feeling kind of bold, Katie, I would do something like that, for sure. lost my grandparents, Mary Kate, but I lost my stepfather and my real father. My stepfather was killed in a motorcycle accident when I was 9, and my real father passed away when I was 21. Death is never easy for anyone. I unfortunately can't say that I know how you feel losing a sibling because I only have a stepbrother. I'm an only child otherwise. But one thing that did help me was realizing that even though time may not heal all wounds, time certainly helps. I don't know if you were close with your brother or not, but I'm sure that as your brother, he wouldn't want you to be buried down in grief forever. I know it's easier said than done, but what I would do is maybe create things to help remember your brother. Maybe placing a candle around his picture every day and lighting it once a day and remembering good times that you guys had together. I don't know the circumstances surrounding the accident, but you could maybe even look into starting a foundation of some sort for siblings who have lost other siblings that can share in your grief and help you. If you aren't interested in starting something, maybe you could join a group. It sounds really crazy, but I actually joined a group when I was a teenager for children who had lost parents to death, and it really, really was an eye-opener for remembering both of my stepfather and my real father who passed away. And it just kind of gave me a whole new sense of I wasn't alone. Other people felt how I felt. I actually just had a friend who lost her 34-year-old brother to cancer. And I know she's really struggling with it. And when I saw her at the wake and I hugged her, they were a family I grew up down the street from my whole life. It was very sad. She immediately mentioned funny stories about him from when we were kids because he was older than us. And it just brought such a nice presence to remember him that way. So that's what I would suggest for you. And you don't have to grieve the way everybody else would grieve or anybody else would grieve. He was your brother. So you have to grieve the way that's best for you. But I would take those maybe few suggestions and just try and implement them and see how you feel. And again, my prayers are with you and your family for sure. The next question comes from Alex Kester. And the question was that I'm sorry, I don't know if you're male or female, but you declared a major in school. And you're worried that you won't have a calling in life or that you're sticking with it for the money. There is another quote I'm going to tell you, Alex. And it says, pick a job you love and you will never have to work a day in your life. I am 32 years old. I went to college and got a degree. And guess what? I believe I have a million callings in life and so many things that I would be good at. And I think that if you're a college student and you're doing well in school, I wouldn't necessarily go for the job that pays the absolute highest amount you could get. I would really truly pick what you love and start to weigh out pros and cons. Get a piece of paper out, write pros and cons, because if you stick with this, it's never too late to change your major. I had a cousin who went to college and they changed majors 1 year before graduation and kind of had to start all over again. But she is happier than ever in the career she is in now. So I would say if you really believe in your soul, follow your instincts. If you're not happy, don't worry about the money right now. Make a list of pros and cons. Look at what you might be interested in. And if you're young, like say in your early 20s, you might not find a calling until you're 30, and that's okay. That is okay. You don't have to have your whole life figured out, in one day. So I would absolutely look into other options if this is not for you. Your instincts never lie, so follow what your instincts are telling you. And the last question comes from our Pickle 666. I actually have Canadian family, and their last name is Pickle, so it's kind of funny that you wrote in. But your question was about panic attacks and calming down. And I am all too familiar with panic attacks. What's funny about my panic attacks is that I don't necessarily get them as much as I used to. I get more of feeling out of reality with everything and not feeling like myself. But YouTube, I actually YouTubed a lot of videos on the reality of panic attacks, and I think it's just a matter of practice, as hard as it is. There's a few tips and tricks I've learned. One is to take an ice cube and kind of put it on your forehead or on the back of your neck, and it kind of shocks your nervous system. Another one is to